I'm not making excuses to people. But the human being is not prepared to live in this society that they have. They miss every boat. I was talking to my daughter the other day about the stuff they do and the kids. Oh, they're doing a good protest. I said, they're not. They're just being misled. After that, she just realized it's true. Okay? And she's heard and knows. But if you notice, neither one of my daughters come down here anymore. You have to almost trap them for Ramadan sometime. Sakina used to have a table a long time ago. Then Fatima had the table. Now you could see, it's not that she had to work. Why? Because Daddy would buy and put the stuff on the table and arrange the table. And from serving the food, what you got it for sale over there? Are you having a deal on that? In other words, all she had to do was collect money. Now, why would somebody stop coming when on Friday I get to go down and for a teenager, 12 years old, say 13, get to hustle up $50, $90, $120 and don't have to buy the stuff. I'm just getting them used to being around, so you don't get locked. Right now, they're locked in the school. The poor kids are being programmed for federal jobs, for slavery. But they got good intentions. One want to be a big health person. But they're going to work for the Department of Health and all. I said, you ain't going to help nobody. One wants to help the environment. Well, I'll go to the, I said, yeah. My idea was, you listen to your daddy, then you go out and start an environmental organization. But you're not going to work in a governmental organization to help the environment. They don't do that. There's a couple of jobs technically I would have. When I was in the penitentiary, in the Division of Forestry, we bugged trees, you know what I mean? You go across, look at the forest, and the forest, the trees are dead at the top. That means ain't no juice getting up to the top. That means the bugs have ate a ring around. Because if you eat a ring around the tree, nothing can go up past it. Like if you cut the bark all the way around, nothing goes to the top. But if you just cut half of the bark off over here, and there's some bark over here, you'll notice some trees, there's still stuff get up to the top. So the bugs would eat them, and then you look across the forest, and you see the dead trees, so we call it bugging trees. You cut them down, take the bark off, burn the bark, that's bugging trees. Forest fire comes, hey man, you're putting out forest fires. And I watched the forest fire movie, and it kind of related to some about the brave, that they all got killed in Arizona somewhere. It was a real story. But I don't know if I showed y'all some pictures at Pine Grove Forestry Camp. So I like working in the forest. I didn't call it doing time because I liked the woods anyway. And actually it was doing good. And they paid us 50 cents a day for all that 8 hours of hard, other people call it hard labor or stuff like that. But if you're young and not that bright, you're actually having fun, So I could work as a forest ranger, even a fireman or something like that. But I couldn't work in no other job, because if you're dealing with the forest, you can actually do some good. You can't do much good just what you got your hands on. So the thing was about, why would they not come down if they're hearing nothing but good stuff. It's because the people don't want them to hear. And I don't bother with it much because I know what they did to my sons, and I wouldn't want them to do that to my daughters. So I let the police in charge of my daughter's upbringing, let them, maybe when they get 30, 40 years old, when we get this stuff rolling, then they'll come back and maybe join. I wouldn't want nobody joining this at that age and they don't know what the hell is going on. They couldn't defend themselves. They couldn't. Nobody else can. Nobody else have defended themselves against the United States government but us. It's just an opinion. Nobody in the United States has properly defended themselves against the federal government and its helpers but us. This is just an opinion. It's an opinion. It's a researched opinion. It's a visited opinion. It's like, and here we are. We might be like, who's the brother here? We had him up here the other day. Could I read a little bit about it? Just the front page, really. Hubert Harrison, April 27th, 1883. All the big boys around that time. Douglas MacArthur, Franklin Roosevelt, all them guys was born in the 1880s. Even though, what's his name? Eisenhower.
He's born 1890.
Yeah, 1890. He was one of the youngest ones. December 17th, 1927 is when he passed away. Was a West Indian American writer, orator, educator, critic, and radical political activist based in Harlem, New York. He was described by activist A. Philip Randolph, of all people, as the father of Harlem radicalism, and by historian Joel Augustus Rogers as the foremost African-American intellect of his time. That's what the people are saying about it. An immigrant from St. Croix at age 17, Harrison played significant roles in the largest radical class and race movement in the United States. 1912, 1914, he was a leading black organizer in the Socialist Party of America. In 1917, he founded the Liberty League and The Voice, the first organization and the first newspaper of race consciousness, New Negro Movement. From his Liberty League and Voice came the core leadership of individuals and race consciousness program of the Marcus Garvey movement. Harrison was a seminal and influential thinker who encouraged the development of class consciousness among working people, positive race consciousness among black people, secular humanism, modern thinking, and intellectual independence. He was also a self-described radical internationalist and contributed significantly to the Caribbean radical tradition. Harrison profoundly influenced a generation of new Negro militants, including A. Philip Randolph, Chandler Owen, Marcus Garvey, Richard Benjamin Moore, W.A. Domingo, Wilhelmina Burroughs, and Cryle Briggs. That's just an introductory page here. The baddest nigga in the United States that don't nobody know nothing about him.
Among the Negroes.
Until a white dude brought it, made him
Yeah.
famous.
Why, how could that happen? We've known this for many years, many years. So what we decided to do was let him continue to play that That's what they're going to do to us. They're going to cut us off. They're going to isolate us. They're going to make us insignificant. That's what they're already doing anyway. They're going to hire, remember all their speakers. When they hire Abdul-Malik, he's on the platform. The national platform, right away. Siraj in Brooklyn, national platform. Zaid Shakir, national platform. The little European fellow, Hamza Youssef. Everybody got a carte blanche everywhere. And not nowadays, but in the old days, I used to be a real speaker. I mean, I used to, you know, because in those days, when you're younger, you think speaking. Because you hear Malcolm and King, and you think, when you heard it, it boosts you up, you're ready to go. Well, I was at that time. It comes a time when speaking is just talking. But there is a time when the same speech stirs people up and get them moving. They hear that one speech, they're ready to go. Let's straighten up. We gotta go. Okay. For most of our adult period, speaking was a profession. And most people were, man, that's real serious what the brother said. But they were not doing it, and they were not implementing none of it. Nobody. The African groups, you know, the super Dr. Ben, them, it was a diversion, everybody. Black people did the pyramid, niggas just was thinking, and they floated the pyramid, because I was wondering myself. You know, I have pictures, actually, somebody in California. You know the picture with Malcolm on the camel in Egypt? Mm-hmm. I have those same pictures. They disappeared and they popped up in California recently, 1971. About 5 years after Malcolm was there, so 5, 6 years. So, when you go into one of the great pyramids, there's a stone over the door that weighs 25,000 tons. 25,000 tons.
That's a lot of weight. 2,000 pounds times 25.
Yeah. The biggest displacement of a battleship, the biggest Japanese battleship was, I think, 58,000 tons. That's made out of steel, of course. They got armor plating. Don't mention them 16-inch guns, 58,000 tons. And the guy, he couldn't explain what he just said, yeah, this stone weighs 25,000 tons. I was thinking, well, how the heck did they get that boy there? In those days, what kind of lift or leverage or ropes or roots or whatever could lift that boy and put it in place? Then the black nationalists, the super duper black people, Dr. Ben, Asa Hilliard, and all them boys, they did kind of like the nation did, because I remembered way back when in some of the teachings that black people could think so well they could make the stone levitate. And it made sense because there's no other physical way you can do it. Hell, you can't get it up there now hardly.
Don't forget the white folks story now. They came from outer space.
Yeah, Van Daniken. This is, you got to remember, look, the dirt is so bad. I remember at the height of the movement, Van Daniken, Chariot of the Gods is what it was called.
Right.
Now, a lot of places he had been, because I was down in Peru, and you know, you flying and you see all them lines from way up in the air. You can't see them, but from the air. I went to visit Machu Picchu. I went to like the 8 wonders of the world. I probably visited 3 or 4 or 5 of them, I'm sure. And Van Daniken, of course, you know, all this stuff. And he had everything, all the pictures and the statues and all that, and the Maya ruins and all that. Well, he reconfigured them in his mind and said, see, that's a spaceship. He's in a little spaceship. Anyway, not to get off the subject, but he come up clearly with all these scientific achievements, the perfect alignment of the pyramids in Egypt, right with the stars and what have you, and the perfect alignment in South America, their pyramids. All of that, well, of course, they were all, the only thing they had in Europe was Stonehenge, a couple of rocks sticking on each other. Anybody could did, we could get us a forklift and put them there. Right? Tell the truth, it ain't nothing. And all these big giant things was in black people of color. Leave it to the European. It's simple. Niggas couldn't have did it, so they come from outer space and did it. That made sense to me too. Because I know the niggas I knew couldn't do nothing like that. And everything in black, how would they put all that stuff in the black community and the Latino community and all that, all on them islands with the big giant heads they got over there. So here we are. No, this is a big deal. See, none of us technically realize what we've been doing. I mean, we know what we're having classes on. We've challenged the white man face to face for all these years. That ain't never happened. It ain't, anybody, if you find it, just let me know. I want to read about it. I want to read about anybody. And don't forget the record now. The European is paying attention to this record. He's doing big stuff off this record. He keeping score. I mean, when I say record, I mean score. When we be saying, well, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, if we did it once or twice. But remember, he been listening, and he got his people right there with you. They've been reporting, let's say, for 38 years on this Islam. But he went way back, you know. So this stuff has been going on. Even, see, if you got a mission, you may not realize your mission till 35 years, 40 years later. But when you look at it, hey man, that's what, some cases, not only have you believing in destiny, you be knowing about destiny. It's like we said something that, it's not controversial. Said, I don't believe God exists. I know God exists. That's not arrogance. That's just saying other people believe. Believe is that's the highest level you can get. But after so many things happen, belief is, in English, faith without evidence. You know, belief without evidence. You believe in heaven, but that doesn't have no proof. Okay, you know, when you walk through the white man's constructed traps for decades and decades, you can smell them, you can see them. You have some natural avoidance. Or you can trap him to make him do the trap and sit back and say, well, let's see what play you run. I just want him to run the play. I don't care which one he run. Just let's see what he do. Okay. Let's try to get back where we are. Forgiveness is the order of the day. What's so important about forgiveness, and let's call it in human term, amnesty. We don't want to get too super religious. Amnesty. Why amnesty? After they have been perfect servants to the system. Because this is a training, and the real thing is coming, so you just get training for this one. You just get trained in forgiveness. Because there's a little forgiveness, and they're just doing this and sprinkling stuff here. And it ain't going to be nothing. The big one will be global, and it'll be big power and everything, and people will be, it will be hundreds and thousands, in some cases, millions of lives. The people that are making decisions have to be trained in forgiveness, because the cornerstone of this transition is forgiveness. In order to get to the new world, that's what, okay, nobody's training for it. The civil rights movement ain't training for it. I'm not against the civil rights movement, but if John Lewis and those people knew what the FBI did to Dr. King and them, and they see him do the same thing to us, and they don't say nothing about it, as though they don't recognize it. Right? They don't recognize it. Remember the big civil rights people? They got books on what they did to Dr. King. What about us? When you see the same thing with us, what? From the same people? That's why we have to train for it. That's why this stuff sounds simple. But when Allah got you, when you got a fight coming, Allah train you for the fight, not the people. Because they don't know where the fight is coming from. We know what the next fight is going to be. Why? Because the training that Allah has given us. And that's all it is, it's training. It ain't, we don't have to fall apart about this little stuff. They're trying to snatch this little piece of land or that stupid stuff. If anybody been paying attention, that ain't what life is about. And for us, it's been way past that. But for them, they would like to drag us back to that. I mean, up until today, which we'll put a little bit out of before we. So in leadership, forgiveness, kindness, humor, optimism.